So, do you want to start off reading, or would you like me to start off on the first page?
Yes.
You want me to start off? Okay. All right, and then I'm going to have you read, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, throwing the hammer. The nice thing about Matilda was that if you had met her casually and talked to her, you would have thought she was a perfectly normal 5.5-year-old child. She displayed almost no outward signs of her brilliance, and she never showed off. This is a very sensible and quiet little girl, you would have said to yourself, and unless for some reason you had started a discussion with her about literature or mathematics, you would never have known the extent of her brain power. It was therefore easy for Matilda to make friends with other children. All of those in her class liked her. They knew, of course, that she was clever, because they had heard her being questioned by Miss Honey on the first day of term. And they knew also that she was allowed to sit quietly with a book during lessons and not pay attention to the teacher. But children of their age do not search deeply for reasons. They are far too wrapped up in their own small struggles to worry overmuch about what others are doing and why. Among Matilda's newfound friends was the girl called Lavender. Right from the first day of term, the two of them started wandering round together during the morning break and in the lunch hour. Lavender was exceptionally small for her age, a skinny little nymph with deep brown eyes and with dark hair that was cut in a fringe across her forehead. Matilda liked her because she was gutsy and adventurous. She liked Matilda for exactly the same reasons. You want to read now?
Before the first week of term was up, awesome tales about the headmistress, Miss Trunchbull, began to filter through to newcomers. Matilda and Lavender, standing in the corner of lanes around during morning break on the third day, were approached by a rough 10-year-old with a boil on her nose called Hortensia. New scum, I suppose, Hortensia said to them, looking down from the great height she was eating from the extra large bag of potato crisps and digging the stuff out of handfuls. Welcome to Borstal, she added, spraying bits of crisp out of her mouth like snowflakes. The two tiny ones confronted.
Confronted, right. Do you know what confronted means? No. Well, let's see. Keep reading. Go ahead.
Confronted by the giant kept a watchful silence.
Okay. So, it says the two tiny ones, confronted by this giant, kept a watchful silence. So what's kind of
staring at her?
Maybe that would make sense. That makes sense. Confronted. So in a sense, so what's going on? What do you think would make sense? So you said it might be like staring? Oh, why do you say staring though?
Because it's just looking at a big girl eating the crispy potato chips.
Oh yeah, you're looking at the picture. I didn't even see that picture. Good eye. Good eye. I didn't even see that. Is there a key word in that sentence that makes you think it was staring?
Oh yeah, watchful.
Watchful. That makes sense. That would make a lot of sense. So based on the picture and kind of looking at the key words here, we can definitely assume that it kind of means that it confronted in a sense would maybe just mean staring or kind of closing off other people, trying to be like the bigger person. Because here in this picture you can see that they're trying to be kind of a bigger person. Do you need me to go? Okay. All right. You want to keep reading? All right. Have you met?
Have you met the Trunchbull yet? Hortensia asked. We've seen her at prayers, Lavender said, but we haven't met her. You've got a treat coming to you, Hortensia said. She hates very small children. She therefore loads the bottom class and everyone in it. She thinks 5-year-olds are grums that haven't yet hatched out, and when another fistful of crumbs and When she spoke again, out spread the crumbs. If you survive your first year, you may just manage to live through the rest of your time here. But many don't survive. They get carried out of the stretcher screaming. I've seen it often. Hortensia paused to observe the effect of these remarks were having on the two itchy ones. Not very much. They seemed pretty cool, so the large one decided to regale them with further information.
Do you want me to read it a little bit? Okay, I'll read a little bit, then I'll have you finish it off, okay? I suppose you know the Trunchbull has a lock-up cupboard in her private quarters called the Chokey. Have you heard about the Chokey? Matilda and Lavender shook their heads and continued to gaze up at the giant. Being very small, they were inclined to mistrust any creature that was larger than they were, especially senior girls. The Chokey, Hortensia went on, is a very tall but very narrow cupboard. The floor is only 10 inches square, so you can't sit down or squat in it. You have to stand. And 3 of the walls are made of cement with bits of broken glass sticking out all over, so you can't lean against them. You have to stand more or less at attention all the time. When you get locked up in there, it's terrible. Can't you lean against the door? Matilda asked. Don't be daft, Hortensia said. The door's got thousands of sharp, spiky nails sticking out of it. They've been hammered through from the outside, probably by the Trunchbull herself. Have you ever been in there? Lavender asked. My first term I was in there 6 times, Hortensia said. Twice for a whole day, and the other times for 2 hours each. But 2 hours is quite bad enough. It's pitch dark and you have to stand up dead straight. And if you wobble at all, you get spiked either by the glass on the walls or the nails on the door. Why were you put in? Matilda asked. What had you done? The first time, Hortensia said, I poured half a tin of golden syrup on the seat of the chair the Trunchbull was going to sit on at prayers. It was wonderful. When she lowered herself into the chair, there was a loud squelching noise similar to that made by a hippopotamus when lowering its foot into the mud on the banks of the Limpopo River. But you're too small and stupid to have read the Just So stories, aren't you? I've read them, Matilda said. You're a liar, Hortensia said amiably. You can't even read yet. But no matter. So when the Trunchbull sat down on the golden syrup, the squelch was beautiful. And when she jumped up again, the chair sort of stuck to the seat of those awful green breeches she wears and came up with her for just a few seconds until the thick syrup slowly came unstuck. Then she clasped her hands to the seat of the breeches, and both hands got covered in the muck. You should have heard her bellow. Do you remember what breeches are? We talked about it last time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? What are they?
They're like those kind of things that go to your knees.
Yeah, they're like the pants that go to your knees. Good, I just want to make sure you remembered. But how did she know it was you? Lavender asked. A little squirt called Ollie Bogwhistle sneaked on me, Hortensia said. I knocked his front teeth out. And the Trunchbull put you in the Chokey for a whole day? Matilda asked, gulping. All day long, Hortensia said. I was off my rocker when she let me out. I was babbling like an idiot. You want to finish up? We just have another page.
I'll finish. What were the other things you did to get put in the Chokey? Lavender asked. Oh, I can't remember them all now, Hortensia said. She spoke with the air of an old warrior who has been in so many battles that bravery has become commonplace. It's all so long, she added, stuffing more crisp than all. Yes, I can remember one. Here's what happened. I chose a time when I knew the Trunchbull was out of the way teaching the 6th formers, and I put up my hand and asked her to go to the box. But instead of going there, I sneaked into Miss Trunchbull's room, and after a speedy search, I found a drawer where she kept the gem knickers. Go on, Matilda said, spellbound. What happened next? I had sent away by post, but For this very powerful itching powder, Hortensia said it cost 5 op a packet and was called the Skin Scorcher. The label said it was made from powdered teeth and deadly snakes, and it was garneted?
No, go back to the beginning. The label said.
The label said it was made from the powdered teeth of deadly snakes, and it was garneted.
No. Finish the sentence.
To raise welts the size of walnuts on your skin.
So this word, let's see, so it's talking about a label saying something and saying that this label is going to say that it's going to raise welts and the size of walnuts on your skin. So do you know when you ever read something and it says this word, it says guaranteed to, make your hair grow longer or something like that. So that's what this is saying here. So he said the label said it was made from powdered teeth of deadly snakes, and it was guaranteed to raise welts the size of walnuts on your skin. So what is it telling us that's going to happen?
It's telling us that it's made out of powdered teeth, deadly snakes, and it was going to be the size of walnuts.
Right. So that's what it's telling you. So when it says guaranteed, that means like it's going to happen. Okay. So that's what the label's saying. So I just want to make sure we got that.
I didn't know how to say it.
No, that's okay. No, I know you know what it meant. Yeah, it's a tricky word. All right, finish up the next few sentences.
So I sprinkled this stuff inside into every pair of the knickers in the jar and then folded them all up again carefully. Hortensia paused the crayon more crisp into her mouth. Did it work? Lavender asked.
Okay, awesome job. All right, so we didn't finish the whole chapter, but that was
part of it.
Yeah, that gave us a lot of information, right? Yeah, you know what I love that you did, and what like all readers really, really do very well is on page 102, when we didn't know what was the word. Oh, confronted. You said you're like, I'm not really sure what confronted means, and you looked around and you pointed out the picture, and a lot of good readers do that, and I didn't even see the picture. So I'm really glad that you pointed that out. And then you said a key word that helped you figure out that confronted might mean kind of standing by and watching.
Do you know what it means?
Is watchful. Confronted?
Yeah.
Confronted kind of means like if you're being confronted by someone, that means someone's kind of like coming at you, trying to maybe start an argument with you. So in this case, Hortensia it seemed like she was confronting Matilda and Lavender, right? Because in the picture you can see she's a lot bigger. So if I was a lot bigger than you and I was sitting, I'm not because I'm short. Let's say if someone much taller was maybe confronting you, they might be standing over you, trying to scare you a little bit. So do you think that's what she was doing here? Mm-hmm. I think that might have been what Hortensia was doing. But what I love that you do, what a lot of good readers do, and writers, is they look at the pictures and say, okay, well, she's kind of bigger, she's standing over, and then you found those key words, which was really, really good. And that was awesome. I love that you did that. So this book, we've been reading this book for a little while now. Is this a book that you normally read? Is Matilda a book you normally read?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Why? What do you like about it?
I like about it because it was telling about someone, about what's happening, like at her school, at home, and what the trouble she gets in, and how tricky she plays with her parents and the teachers.
Yeah. So you like it so far? Is what I'm saying. How do you feel about the characters? So we know Matilda. Who else do we know? Miss Honey. Miss Trunchbull.
The Wormworts.
The Wormworts. It's quite a last name. The Wormworts. How do you feel about the Wormworts?
I feel terrible about them.
Yeah. How do you feel about Matilda, that she's stuck in that situation?
I feel sad because no one really pays attention to her. They're just kind of busy doing their job, and they like their other son better, and they're not good parents at all.
No. Do you think they know about Matilda yet, and how smart she is, and how talented she is?
They know it, but they don't like it.
No, they don't like it, and they don't really care, right? They kind of see it as something awful. Good. So, how do you feel about how they talking about everyone? Maybe the Wormworts and Miss Trunchbull, the Wormworts and Miss Honey. or Miss Honey and Miss Trunchbull? How do you feel about them all interacting together?
And we talked about that.
Well,
Miss Karate.
Did you? Okay,
We
so
were
go ahead.
comparing them, all of them, to Matilda and to each other.
Oh, yeah. So tell me about a little bit about what you talked about then.
We talked about how Matilda and Miss Trunchbull were similar but together, and that was a pretty tricky question. But then Joshua came up and then he said they both hated each other, and that was something similar about them. And that didn't even pop out.
No. I know, that's actually a very good question, because you would normally think that Miss Trunchbull and Matilda are nothing alike, but they actually share common ground. So that's actually very cool that you guys were able to point something like that out. So what else did you, so you talked about then Miss Trunchbull and Matilda. What about like did Miss Honey and Miss Trunchbull have any? We talked about that last time, right?
I guess.
Did they have any?
Yeah. They were educators. They were both educators.
Yeah, they're both educators in a way. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. We
The
talked
one
about.
was Matilda.
Yeah. So the Warmers and Matilda, how do they interact with each other?
Let's see. They.
And when I say interact, I mean like how do they act around each other? How do they talk to each other? How do they get along? Like, because there's a family, and they're a family, and so, and sometimes maybe families just aren't very nice to each other, So do you think that they interact well with each other?
Not really.
No.
No. But they still like each other. It's just that they. Really.
Yeah. All right. Do you see any like connections that you have with maybe Matilda or someone in the book? Do you see any connections? As you're reading, are you ever like, oh, you know what, I'm kind of like that, or you know what, oh, my family's nothing like that, or maybe my family is a lot like that?
I'd have to go with my brother, with Mr. Wormwood, because
Really?
yeah, he really doesn't pay the attention to me because I'm the middle child, and so he plays with my little sister, and I'm kind of okay with it because all I like to do is just read.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
good.
and then my brother's just like, he thinks I'm weird because he's always on technology and everything.
Oh, so you said that all you really like to do is read. So who's kind of like that in the book? Matilda. Okay. So she all she really, she really likes to keep to herself and read, but in her head she has all this amazing stuff going on. So,
It's kind of funny because back then when I was small, my brother was small too, we fight each other a lot
Oh,
in all the
jeez.
time. And then once I was like kind of like 7 or 8, and then he was kind of a little older, we liked to play with each other, but then once he got older, I don't know, he keeps texting messages and everything, and so I think something changed his mind because of that, and now he just literally doesn't do anything.
oh my goodness, that's really funny. That's good. Well, I'm glad that you can you're able to see a connection though to characters and to people in your family. But does Miss Trunchbull remind you of anyone? You could say Miss Crott, it's okay. I'm just kidding. But does she remind you of anyone, Miss Trunchbull?
Miss Trunchbull kind of reminds me of. I have to say my sister.
Your sister?
Mm-hmm.
Really? How so?
One time, I didn't know how she got mad, but I was just like playing on the computer, and she came and said it was my turn to play, and then so I'm like, in just 1 second, because I was putting on the word, the comment something about, I was telling all about me, and then I don't know, but she just came over there and just scratched me and everything, and I got so sad.
So how does that remind you of Miss Trunchbull?
The putting people in the chokey.
Putting people in the chokey? Now, why do we think Miss Trunchbull has this chokey?
Because she hates most of the children.
She doesn't like them, right? So, and I remember we talked a little bit about last time why we thought she was so angry. Because she just seems very, very mean to people. So I'm trying to think, maybe why does she have this chokey? She doesn't like kids. Do you have any suggestions maybe why she has it? Maybe we talked about it last time that
how she became mean.
Yeah, and how she because she was an athlete, and maybe you guys came up with a great suggestion saying, maybe she failed. and that made her so mean. But this Chokey, I can't. I mean, imagine if Miss Bear had a Chokey upstairs in her office. You know, exactly. You would behave a lot better. But
Can I go to the bathroom?
yes, go to the bathroom, sweetie.
One thing short. Do you like my penguin socks?
I love them. They're adorable. Very cute. All right, there's just one or two more things I want to talk about. But what I want you to think about, and I was thinking about it, and I was thinking how interesting this might be, is what if, not Matilda, what if Miss Trunchbull and Miss Honey switch places? Think of what if Miss Trunchbull was actually Matilda's teacher, and Miss Honey was the headmistress? How do you think that would change the story a bit?
It would kind of change the story a bit. I guess she would probably play tricks on Miss Trunchbull, just like she did to her parents.
Yeah, so she would probably play tricks. Do you think,
Are you talking like about the character or just like the like switching teachers?
Well, the characters. So if Miss Trunchbull from the beginning of the story was always Matilda's teacher, and because remember how Miss Honey, when she found out how smart Matilda is, she tried to
Bump her up in the
yeah, she tried to
bigger
bump her
thing.
up. Do you think Miss Trunchbull would be anything like that if she was actually the teacher? I know she's the headmistress and she kind of is in charge, but if she was in the classroom with Matilda, do you think the story would change?
I'd say yes. I'd say Miss Trunchbull would have just put her in the Chokey for a little while and take her out and then, yes, bump her up into, I guess, a lower grade.
Oh, so you think she would put her in a lower grade?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
To see how she has to start to being to the big kids class and listening to Miss Trunchbull.
Oh, okay. That's really interesting. I like how you pointed that out. That was a good thinking. That was a great thinking. Right. Well, thank you for meeting with me. Do you have any questions about the book?
Yes. What if you were like Miss Trunchbull?
What if I was like Miss Trunchbull? Would you want to be around me? No. What if I took you guys and put you in the Chokey?
I would have been sad.
You would have been sad.
And I would have never come to this school again.
Oh, that would make me very sad. I don't think I'd want to be like Miss Trunchbull.
I'm glad you.
Me too. But thank you for meeting with me and talking.